Rome, 1898. Vatican archivists cataloging Pope Leo III's private chambers make an unusual discovery. 73 bottles of Vin Mariani, each labeled with Peruvian coca leaves and French promises. But these weren't communion wines. Each bottle contained cocaine-infused Bordeaux, 6 milligrams per fluid ounce, shipped directly from Paris chemist Angelo Mariani's factory. Tucked between the bottles, a handwritten letter on papal stationery. Leo XIII's own testimony, praising the wine as God's tonic that sustained him through his demanding papacy. The Pope wasn't alone. By 1898, Vin Mariani had collected endorsements from Queen Victoria, Thomas Edison, and over 8,000 physicians across Europe and America. This wasn't a scandal yet. This was medicine. This was modernity in a bottle, and the Pope's letter would become Angelo Mariani's most prized marketing weapon. But how does a Corsican chemist convince the head of the Catholic Church to publicly endorse cocaine wine? The answer lies in what happened 15 years earlier, in a Paris laboratory. Angelo Mariani had been experimenting with Peruvian coca leaves since 1863, grinding them into Bordeaux wine, creating a formula that European doctors claimed could cure everything from melancholy to tuberculosis. The coca plant had been sacred to Andean cultures for millennia, but Mariani saw something else, a delivery system that made cocaine palatable, respectable, and profitable. By 1870, his wine was prescribed by French doctors for nervous exhaustion. By 1880, it was being shipped to royalty. By 1890, Mariani's factory was bottling 7 million doses annually. There were no ingredient labels, no dosage warnings. The FDA wouldn't exist for another 16 years. And that bitter metallic aftertaste customers noticed? That was their gums going numb. This is the story of history's first celebrity wellness scandal, when cocaine was medicine, when the Pope was a pitchman, and when nobody asked what was actually in the bottle. 1863. A Corsican chemist named Angelo Mariani stares at coca leaves shipped from Peru. He's read that Andean miners chew them to work longer. He has a different idea. What if you could drink your energy? Mariani soaks the leaves in Bordeaux wine. The alcohol extracts the cocaine alkaloids, 6 milligrams per ounce, enough to make your tongue numb, enough to make you feel invincible. Within a decade, Vin Mariani is everywhere. Pope Leo XIII carries it in his flask, awards Mariani a gold medal. He writes a personal letter praising the wine. The Vatican's endorsement changes everything. Queen Victoria drinks it. Thomas Edison claims it helps him stay awake for 72-hour invention binges. He writes that it makes him taste electricity. This is the birth of celebrity endorsement culture. Ulysses S. Grant drinks Vin Mariani while dying of throat cancer, trying to finish his memoirs. Sarah Bernhardt, the world's most famous actress, has her face on every bottle sold in France. Here's what nobody understood. This wasn't just marketing. This was chemistry meeting human psychology before anyone knew what addiction looked like, before the word cocaine meant danger. By 1885, 8,000 doctors prescribe it. For fatigue, for sadness, for children who are too shy. The medical journals are unanimous. Cocaine wine is a miracle cure with no side effects. Mariani's factory in Paris bottles 7 million doses a year. No ingredient labels, no dosage warnings, no FDA. Just wine, coca, and a promise that you'll feel better than you've ever felt. The bitter metallic taste after 3 sips, that's your gums going numb. That energy surge, 6 milligrams of cocaine entering your bloodstream. That feeling of limitless confidence, addiction before it had a name. In Atlanta, a pharmacist named John Pemberton tastes Vin Mariani and sees dollar signs. He creates his own version, Pemberton's French wine coca. Then prohibition threatens. He pivots to a soda fountain drink. That drink becomes Coca-Cola. The cocaine stays in the formula until 1903. Vin Mariani created the blueprint. Take a drug, add celebrity endorsements, tell people it's medicine, and sell millions. This isn't just a story about cocaine wine. It's about the moment capitalism discovered it could sell altered consciousness as wellness, with a pope's blessing and a celebrity's smile. An entire generation grew up drinking cocaine, not in back alleys, at dinner parties, on doctors' orders with their children, because a French chemist made addiction taste like Bordeaux. By 1906, the Pure Food and Drug Act finally requires labels. Suddenly, parents read cocaine on bottles they'd been giving their kids for shyness. The scandal reshapes drug laws forever. Mariani dies wealthy in 1914, never facing consequences. His wine disappears from history, but his invention survives: the celebrity testimonial, the medical endorsement, the idea that fame can sell anything. Today, influencers sell supplements with dubious medical claims. Celebrities endorse wellness products. Doctors appear in advertisements. We pretend this is new, but Mariani wrote this playbook in 1863. The cocaine is gone, the wine is gone, but the method survived. That's why this forgotten bottle matters. It built the machinery that still sells us everything, from sneakers to prescription drugs. One French pharmacist didn't just create a product. He created a system where celebrity credibility could override medical caution, where profit could dress up as healthcare, where nobody asked questions until it was too late. Paris, 1863. A Corsican chemist named Angelo Mariani stares at two ingredients that will change history: a bottle of Bordeaux wine and a pile of dried Peruvian coca leaves. Mariani had read about South American natives chewing coca for endurance. He wondered, what if I extract it into alcohol? What he created was liquid confidence in a bottle. The recipe was deceptively simple: Bordeaux wine infused with coca leaves, 6 milligrams of cocaine per fluid ounce, enough to make your gums go numb after 3 sips. But Mariani understood something other chemists didn't. Cocaine extracted into alcohol becomes more potent. The wine helped the alkaloids cross into the bloodstream faster, hitting harder. Within months, Parisian high society was obsessed. They called it a tonic. They said it cured melancholy, fatigue, and nervous disorders. What it actually did was get them high. Mariani wasn't just selling a drink, he was selling transformation. One glass and the shy became bold, the exhausted became energized, the ordinary became extraordinary. This wasn't medicine. This was the Victorian era's first performance-enhancing drug, and it came with a wine label and no warning. By 1865, Mariani had opened a factory. No ingredient labels, no dosage warnings, no regulation whatsoever. The FDA wouldn't exist for another 40 years. The bitter, metallic aftertaste customers noticed, that was their mouth going numb. The euphoria that followed, that was cocaine flooding their brain's reward system. Mariani's timing was perfect. This was an era obsessed with nerve tonics and vigor restorers. Cocaine wine fit perfectly into Victorian medicine's Wild West. Soon, competitors emerged, but Mariani had one insight that would make him a fortune. He didn't need doctors to sell his wine. He needed celebrities. What happened next would invent modern celebrity endorsement culture. Mariani would collect testimonials from 8,000 physicians, royalty from 3 continents, and a pope who wrote him fan mail. But in 1863, as Mariani bottled his first batch, he had no idea he was creating the most dangerous status symbol of the Victorian age. He just knew it worked. Within 20 years, 7 million doses would be sold annually. Children would be prescribed it for shyness, and Thomas Edison would claim it let him taste electricity. 1884, Paris. Angelo Mariani wasn't just selling cocaine wine. He was inventing modern celebrity endorsement. His strategy was brilliant and utterly unregulated. Collect testimonials from anyone famous enough to make headlines. Sarah Bernhardt, the world's most famous actress, became his first trophy. Her testimonial claimed Vin Mariani was the elixir of life itself. She received cases monthly. Her contract, a signed photograph, and flowery praise. The Pope's endorsement arrived next. Pope Leo XIII didn't just drink Vin Mariani, he awarded Mariani a Vatican gold medal. The official Vatican medal featured the Pope's face. Marketing gold that money couldn't buy. Mariani compiled his testimonials into albums, 14 volumes of celebrity cocaine endorsements. Kings, inventors, presidents, all praising cocaine wine in their own handwriting. It was history's first influencer catalog. Then came Ulysses S. Grant. America's dying war hero, throat ravaged by cancer, wrote his memoirs while drinking Vin Mariani. His doctors prescribed it for the pain. He finished his book days before death. The cocaine kept him writing. Over 8,000 physicians signed testimonials recommending Vin Mariani, not for dying generals, for children, for shyness, for fatigue, for any ailment you could name. Their medical credentials gave cocaine wine scientific legitimacy. This was the moment celebrity endorsement became a weapon more powerful than science, where fame could override medicine and a signature could turn poison into panacea. Thomas Edison's testimonial went further than most. He claimed Vin Mariani heightened his senses so dramatically he could taste the future and feel electricity on his tongue. His exact words were published in newspapers worldwide. Edison wasn't exaggerating the sensation. He was describing cocaine's numbing effect on mucous membranes mixed with the heightened sensory perception. He mistook drug side effects for enhanced genius. Queen Victoria kept cases at Buckingham Palace. The Queen's official warrant wasn't public, but Mariani leaked it anyway. By 1890, claiming royal approval while selling unregulated cocaine became standard business practice. The French actress Lily Langtry claimed it preserved her beauty. Boxer John L. Sullivan said it enhanced his strength. Writer Jules Verne credited it for his imagination. Each testimonial spawned thousands of new customers. Mariani's factory in Neuilly-sur-Seine was producing 7 million doses annually by 1893. No ingredient labels, no dosage warnings, no age restrictions, just celebrity faces and medical credentials on every advertisement. American pharmaceutical companies watched and learned. If Mariani could get the Pope to endorse cocaine, what couldn't be sold with the right famous face? The celebrity endorsement arms race had begun. The bitter metallic taste customers noticed after 3 sips, that was their gums going numb. The energy they felt? Cocaine. The medicinal benefits? Addiction taking hold. But the celebrities kept smiling in the ads. By 1895, Vin Mariani's celebrity testimonial collection included 3 popes, 16 heads of state, and dozens of medical societies. The strategy worked because nobody was regulating what celebrities could claim about drugs. 1885. A mother in Boston pours a small glass of Vin Mariani for her 7-year-old daughter. The prescription from their family doctor reads, "For timidity and nervous exhaustion, 2 tablespoons daily." The child wasn't sick. She was shy. But in the 1880s, 8,000 physicians across Europe and America prescribed cocaine wine to children for conditions that weren't diseases at all. Dr. Charles Fauvel, prominent French physician, published his recommendation. For children suffering from shyness, weak constitution, or failure to thrive, Vin Mariani restores vitality within days. Within days was accurate. Cocaine produces euphoria in approximately 15 minutes. These children weren't being cured. They were being drugged into confidence. The medical establishment called it a miracle. What they'd actually discovered was that giving children a mixture of alcohol and cocaine made them more outgoing. This passed for pediatric medicine. Here's what nobody understood yet. Your brain doesn't distinguish between medical cocaine and recreational cocaine. The delivery system was irrelevant. These were addicted children with prescriptions. Parents weren't negligent. They were following doctors' orders in an era when physicians were treated as infallible authorities. The bottle came from a pharmacy. It had a doctor's signature. It seemed responsible. This wasn't fringe medicine. This was mainstream pediatric care, endorsed by medical journals, taught in universities, and practiced by the most respected physicians in London, Paris, and New York. The recommended dosage for children was deliberately vague, 1 to 3 tablespoons daily, adjusted according to the child's response. Translation: increase the dose until you see results. What parents were actually observing wasn't health improvement. It was cocaine intoxication. The child's increased energy, chattiness, and apparent happiness were symptoms of drug use, not recovery. Dr. J.B. Madison, one of the few physicians raising concerns, wrote in 1887, "We are creating a generation dependent on stimulants, unable to function without their daily dose. This is not medicine." His warnings were ignored. The Medical Society of Paris actually gave Angelo Mariani an award for his contribution to public health. They gave a medal to a man addicting children for profit. The addiction timeline was predictable. After 2 weeks of daily use, children began asking for their medicine. After a month, they experienced withdrawal symptoms if doses were missed. Withdrawal from cocaine includes depression, fatigue, and intense irritability. Doctors interpreted these symptoms as proof the child still needed treatment. The diagnosis created its own evidence. Parents found themselves trapped in a medical catch-22. Their child seemed better with the medicine and worse without it. They never suspected the medicine itself was causing the problem. Some children were on continuous cocaine and alcohol prescriptions for years. Their entire personality development occurred under the influence of a drug that wouldn't be controlled for another 3 decades. The hysteria diagnosis was even more reckless. Any girl showing strong emotions, defiance, or excessive energy could be diagnosed as hysterical and prescribed cocaine wine to calm her down. This wasn't psychiatric care. This was chemical control of children who didn't conform to Victorian behavioral standards. Medicine was being used as social engineering. The real horror? These parents loved their children. They weren't trying to harm them. They believed they were treating illness, preventing future problems, giving their kids a better life. Letters from parents to Angelo Mariani's company read like testimonials to child abuse disguised as gratitude. My son's spirits have never been higher. He takes his medicine eagerly now. Mariani's company filed these letters as marketing material. Thousands of parental testimonials about giving cane to children were published in advertising brochures distributed to more doctors. By 1890, an estimated 400,000 children in Europe and America were on regular prescriptions of cocaine-laced wine. This wasn't an epidemic. It was standard pediatric practice across the Western world. The youngest recorded patient was 18 months old, prescribed by a London physician for failure to thrive, which was medical terminology for a baby who seemed underweight. There were no age restrictions, no dosage limits, no treatment duration guidelines, and no requirement to inform parents about the wine's cocaine content. Medical discretion was absolute. Some doctors did understand what they were doing. Correspondence between physicians reveals they privately called it liquid courage and bottled personality, acknowledging it was behavioral modification, not medicine. The children who grew up on these prescriptions became the adults of the early 1900s. Many never knew they'd spent their formative years under the influence of cocaine. Their medical records simply said tonic. This wasn't an accident or an isolated mistake. This was systematic, endorsed, profitable medical practice involving thousands of doctors prescribing cocaine to children who had nothing wrong with them except being children. The FDA wouldn't exist until 1906. Child labor laws barely existed. The concept of informed consent was decades away. These children had no legal protection whatsoever. When regulations finally came, they didn't come from medical ethics boards recognizing their mistake. They came from addiction treatment facilities, overwhelmed with patients who'd been legally drugged as children. Angelo Mariani never apologized. He maintained until his death that his product was beneficial medicine, citing the thousands of doctor endorsements as proof. The medical establishment had given him cover. The last bottles of Vin Mariani were sold in 1910. By then, cocaine's addictive properties were undeniable. But the children prescribed cocaine wine in the 1880s and 90s were adults now, living with consequences they didn't understand. There was no compensation, no investigation, no accountability. Medical journals quietly stopped mentioning the practice. The thousands of doctors who'd prescribed cocaine to children simply moved on to the next treatment. This chapter of medical history is rarely taught. It's an embarrassment to a profession that wants to be trusted. But it happened. For 2 decades, giving cocaine to children was considered responsible parenting because doctors said so. The lesson isn't that doctors are malicious. It's that medical authority without regulation, oversight, or accountability can normalize anything, even addicting children to cocaine while calling it healthcare. Paris, 1885. Angelo Mariani's factory on Boulevard Haussmann runs 24 hours a day, and there's not a single government inspector in sight. 7 million bottles a year, each one containing coca leaves steeped in Bordeaux wine. Not one of them carries an ingredient list. Because in 1885, no law required one. The FDA wouldn't exist until 1906. This was the golden age of putting whatever you wanted in a bottle and calling it medicine. Mariani's workers dumped coca leaves directly into wine vats. 6 grams of cocaine alkaloid per bottle was the standard, but batches varied wildly. No standardized measurements, no quality control, just thousands of pounds of coca leaves shipped from Peru, processed in Paris, and bottled for the world. Here's what the unregulated empire actually looked like. If you could afford a factory and a bottling line, you were in the cocaine business. Mariani employed over 200 workers. Most had no idea what they were handling. One former employee later testified he thought coca was a type of tea leaf. The bottles themselves were works of art, hand-blown green glass, gold-embossed labels featuring Mariani's face, everything designed to look medicinal and luxurious simultaneously. But flip that beautiful bottle over. The back label? Completely blank. No dosage instructions, no warnings, not even a hint of what was inside. And this wasn't an oversight. Mariani deliberately avoided specifics. The vague claim, tonic wine, meant he could market it as food, medicine, or leisure drink depending on the customer. In France alone, Mariani's operation produced 15,000 bottles per day. That's one bottle every 6 seconds, around the clock, with zero oversight. The pharmaceutical industry in the 1880s operated on a simple principle. If it killed people slowly enough, you could sell it forever. Mariani wasn't alone. Across Europe and America, hundreds of cocaine-laced products flooded the market. Coca cigarettes, coca lozenges, coca suppositories for children. But Vin Mariani was the empire. The Coca-Cola before Coca-Cola existed, and its factory was the beating heart of what we'd now call a drug cartel, operating in plain sight. Mariani kept meticulous financial records, but almost no production records. He knew exactly how much money he made, but couldn't tell you the cocaine content of any given batch. His chemists worked in what was essentially a legal cocaine lab, extracting, concentrating, and infusing coca alkaloids into wine without a single permit. Because permits didn't exist, the concept of drug scheduling was decades away. In 1885, cocaine wasn't controlled, it was commerce. Mariani's shipping department sent bottles to 64 countries. Each shipment crossed borders without inspection. Customs agents waved cocaine through like table wine. The factory floor had no ventilation system. Workers inhaled coca dust for 12-hour shifts. Several reportedly became unusually energetic and stopped sleeping. One factory log noted that productivity increased 30% after workers started sampling the product. Management considered this a benefit, not a problem. This was the unregulated empire at its peak. Millions of doses, zero accountability, and a business model that wouldn't survive another 20 years. But in 1885, Angelo Mariani wasn't a drug lord. He was a respected businessman, and his cocaine wine was medicine. The world just hadn't realized the problem yet. The bottles kept flowing. 7 million a year, each one a time bomb, and nobody was counting. The third sip always hit different. That metallic bitterness coating your tongue like sucking on a penny. Your grandmother in 1885 didn't know she was tasting the cocaine leaching through her gum tissue, numbing nerve endings as alcohol accelerated its absorption. Mariani's factory in Neuilly-sur-Seine had no standardization. One batch might contain 6 milligrams of cocaine per ounce. The next, 18. Workers eyeballed coca leaf quantities like they were seasoning soup. A chemist named Louis Lewin tested 12 random Vin Mariani bottles in 1886. Cocaine content varied by 300%. The bottle that cured your headache Tuesday could trigger heart palpitations Thursday. Here's what nobody told you. Alcohol doesn't just deliver cocaine faster. Your liver combines them into a third substance called coca-ethylene, more euphoric and more toxic than either alone. Coca-ethylene stays in your system 3 times longer than cocaine, hitting dopamine receptors harder. It's why Vin Mariani felt different from coca tea, why that warm confidence lasted hours, why your heart kept racing long after the taste faded. That numb mouth was your first warning sign. Cocaine is a local anesthetic, blocking sodium channels in nerve cells. The same mechanism dentists would later exploit, but you were swallowing it, numbing everything from lips to stomach lining. Dr. Edward Squibb tested Vin Mariani in 1888 and found something disturbing. The wine itself was decent Bordeaux, but the cocaine extraction was crude, preserving alkaloids that intensified the bitter metal taste and increased toxicity. The metallic taste wasn't just cocaine, it was isogonine, cinnamoyl cocaine, and other coca alkaloids poorly separated during processing. You were drinking a pharmacological cocktail that varied wildly bottle to bottle, year to year. And here's the scandal within the scandal. Mariani knew. His own correspondence mentions the inconsistency problem, dismissed as acceptable variants. 8,000 doctors prescribed a medicine with no quality control. When alcohol and cocaine mix in your bloodstream, your heart doesn't know whether to slow down or speed up. Blood vessels constrict while blood pressure spikes. Your brain gets euphoria. Your cardiovascular system gets conflicting instructions. A mother in Lyon gave her shy 7-year-old daughter 2 teaspoons daily as prescribed. By week 3, the girl couldn't sleep, couldn't eat, and ground her teeth unconsciously. The doctor increased the dose, blaming nervousness. The numbness crept beyond your mouth if you drank enough. Fingers tingling. That strange disconnect between seeing your hand move and feeling it move. Cocaine blocks nerve signals indiscriminately, and nobody was tracking cumulative doses. By 1890, French pharmacists were reporting what they carefully termed Mariani complications. Patients developing tolerance, needing more wine for the same effect. Heart irregularities in chronic users. But with 7 million doses sold annually, momentum was unstoppable. The bitter truth your mouth was trying to tell you: this wasn't medicine. It was a drug delivery system optimized for addiction, wrapped in medical authority, blessed by a pope, and prescribed to children. Every swallow created coca-ethylene that wouldn't exist in nature. Every bottle's potency was a roulette spin. Every numb tongue was nerve damage in real time, and the only regulation was how fast Mariani could print testimonials. By 1906, the party was over. The same elixir that had charmed popes and inventors became Exhibit A in Congress. A bottle of wine that proved unregulated medicine could hook an entire generation. The Pure Food and Drug Act passed that June, forcing manufacturers to list alcohol, cocaine, and opiates on every label. Vin Mariani's mystique evaporated the moment customers saw the truth in print. Angelo Mariani watched his empire crumble. Sales plummeted 70% in 2 years. The same doctors who'd prescribed it for shyness now called it a public menace. But Mariani's formula didn't die. It shape-shifted. In Atlanta, a pharmacist named John Pemberton had already copied the coca wine recipe, removed the alcohol, and called it Coca-Cola. For decades, Coca-Cola denied the connection. But Pemberton's own notes prove it. He'd studied Mariani's technique, measured the coca extract, and simply swapped wine for sugar and carbonation. The irony? We're still drinking Mariani's legacy. Coca-Cola removed the cocaine in 1903, but they still import coca leaves, decocainized, for that original flavor profile. The celebrity endorsement playbook Mariani invented never went away. It just got regulated. Today's Instagram wellness influencers are selling the same promise: energy, genius, vitality in a bottle. From Gwyneth Paltrow's Jade Eggs to Joe Rogan's supplement empire, we're fighting Mariani's ghost. The tactics are identical: famous faces, medical-sounding claims, and no clinical trials. The FDA now employs 5,000 people to do what didn't exist in 1880: test claims, verify ingredients, and stop the next Vin Mariani before 8,000 doctors prescribe cocaine to children. But enforcement is a game of whack-a-mole. For every supplement banned, 3 more launch with reworded claims. The internet is Mariani's Paris laboratory, scaled to billions. Mariani died in 1914, never admitting his wine had caused harm. His obituary in Le Figaro called him an innovator. The thousands who'd become addicted weren't mentioned. Here's what Mariani understood that we keep forgetting. The line between medicine and poison is dosage. The line between testimony and advertisement is regulation, and we only get one when we demand it. The Pope's glowing letter to Mariani hangs in the Vatican archives, a reminder that even infallibility has its blind spots when celebrity meets chemistry and no one's checking the label. Every generation gets its Vin Mariani. Ours just comes with better marketing, vaguer claims, and the same bitter aftertaste when we finally read the fine print. The real legacy isn't the wine or the cocaine, it's the lesson we refuse to learn. When something seems too good to be true, check who's profiting from your belief. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and check out other videos.